came and he didn't give me anything, right? And then my birthday is only a couple months later, he didn't give me anything. And I was like, man, what is wrong? Like, I can't even believe you didn't even give me a card. And his conversation with me was, if you need a card to know that I love you, then we got issues. He said, we have no money, we're broke, and we're trying to build this thing. And if you're not in this for the long run, one day where you can get everything and anything you want, and right now you're going to have to pay a price, where we're not going to get gifts, where I don't give a crap about a gift, I don't give a crap about getting you a gift or getting a gift for myself. And if you're not on the same boat with me, you just tell me right now. He said, get in or get off. That was his conversation with me. And I looked at him and I said, that's right. And I'll tell you what, that made me respect him. I don't know how to explain it to you, but when a man stands his ground, it's very attractive. And I said, shoot, he's serious. Right? It's kind of like that thing, like, you know, mom can tell you something and yell at you and you laugh, but when dad does it, you know it's for real, right? That's what he did. And he showed me right there and then, shoot, I need to grow up. Okay, this thing is bigger than a card, this thing is bigger than my birthday, which could be every day if I wanted it to, if we go to work right now. And I had to grow up. And I decided I was in, and I never asked about a gift ever again after that, right? We just literally put our head down and went to work. And that's hard. I mean, I had to go against my normal nature. We didn't give gifts. You know, we gave IOUs, but we didn't give gifts, right? The only gift we could give is a call, a phone call, you know, our time. Once in a while, I'd try to get a card if I could. But we really, I mean, literally, we kind of just isolated ourselves, you know, and said, we got to go to work. And, you know, those were the things we did early on. Now I get all the gifts I want, you see, right? I get diamonds, you know, I get trips, I get a lot of good stuff now. And that's what all those, I exchanged those early on gifts for the gifts I get today. You know, these gifts are not cheap, you know. These gifts would not have been given to me, you know, 10 years ago. We couldn't afford them. You know, so it's all those pay the price in the early years so you can play later. We just had to keep moving and pushing. We stayed uncomfortable, like I said, no radio, no presents, slept in a twin-size bed, always reading. Cell phone bills, okay, back then are not like what they are today. You could not get a package of like 1,000 minutes back then. You were lucky if you could get 500 or 600 minutes. So we were always over, okay? So our phone bills would come out to like $500 sometimes, you know, and they told us if your cell phone bill is not outrageous, and your miles on your car aren't racking up, then you're not working hard enough. And that was kind of what we just stayed focused on. If we got a big cell phone bills, it just meant we're on track. You know, if we were putting the miles on our cars, it just meant that we were on track. We put 40,000, 50,000 miles a year on both cars, you know, building this business in the first early years. I can tell you, we were extreme. Extreme. Honestly, I worked my way out of my job. I didn't quit my job because I didn't like it. Nobody likes their job. I mean, if you're really honest, okay? There's a handful of people that may in this room, but most do not like their job or something about it, or someone, okay? That's there. Something you're like, okay, I just can't take this anymore. They don't pay me enough to deal with this. You say that at least to yourself once a day. And I said that to myself every day, but it wasn't enough for me just to quit my job because of those reasons. I worked my way out of my job, right? By the time I quit my job, I got my license in April '99. July of '99, I had worked my way out of my job. We just got our division promotion. In a matter of 9 months, we went from rep to division real fast. We were building a team. I had got licensed. I started going in the field. We had a bunch of new recruits coming on board. They weren't maybe all the right kind of recruits, but they were recruits, okay? We were getting on appointments. And there was a company convention that year, and I decided I was going to quit my job. And I didn't even tell Alan. I didn't even tell my RVP. One day, we had off nights on Thursdays, and I had missed 4 straight days of work. I had demoted myself at my job from an administrative assistant that required me to be there, answer phones, and work with and for my boss. I had to be visible there, or it wasn't good, right? So I demoted myself to a job where I could kind of hide. I was accounts receivable, data entry. You could hide there. And that's what I did to get myself out of my job. I demoted myself, then I started cutting my hours. You know, the same work that takes some people 8 hours, you know you could really get that done in 4 or 5. Well, I started doing that. I started getting the work that used to take me 8 hours. I used to drag my feet. I started getting done in 4 and 5 hours, and I would leave work early. I had a good relationship with my boss at that time. I said, look, if I can get the same work done, and it doesn't bother you, meaning you don't have to make up my work or nobody else does, could I leave early? And she said, sure. So in 8 hours, I'd get done 4 and 5, and I'd leave and I'd go prospecting. You know, I'd go to a job fair, I'd go on an interview. I was recruiting. That was what I was doing. And then this one week, I'd missed work for 4 straight days. We had job fairs, I had interviews all day. I mean, I used to set up interviews, my RVP would do them. I would leave work for my lunch break. Sometimes I'd take an extra long lunch break, and I would drive to my RVP's office, sit in on my interview that he was doing for me with the people that I had met. I'd see what he was doing, I'd learn, and then I'd go back to work. You know, that's what I did to learn how to interview. There was times, you know, you get home late from appointments, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I would sleep on my lunch break. I didn't eat, I slept. I took my nap because I knew I had 2 appointments that night. You know, those were the kind of things that we were doing to be extreme. I mean, and then you'd get like 15-minute breaks at work sometimes, like 2 a day. I put my head down for 15 minutes on my desk and told my boss, just wake me up in 15 minutes. You know, those are the kinds of things that I did. I worked Primerica at my job. I worked my way out of my job. Okay, I didn't just quit because I felt like it. I quit because my job was now in the way. I had missed work for 4 straight days. Interviews, job fairs, prospecting, recruiting appointments. I had so many appointments during the day, I couldn't even go to work. Okay, so on Thursday, op night came. I told Alan and my RVP, I said, hey, I got to talk to you guys after the meeting. They're like, okay. So we go into his office, close the door. I said, I'm quitting my job tomorrow. And they both looked at each other, they're like, what? I said, yeah, I can't do that to my boss anymore. I missed 4 straight days. I called in sick. You know, I'm not picking up my end of the load anymore. I told her if I could get all my work done and it wouldn't bother her if I could cut my hours back. And she said, yes, but now I'm not even showing up. It's time for me to quit. My job's in the way. And they're like, okay, wrote my resignation that night, walked into my job, fired my boss at 22 years old. I have not had a boss since. And that's because I worked my way out of my job. Okay, I don't know where people get off on just quitting these days and just thinking it's okay, but you got to work your way out. You got to be full-time before you are full-time. That's what they used to teach us, and that's how I acted. I acted full-time before I was full-time. They said you got to be an RVP before you are an RVP, and that's exactly what I did. We took care of our business. I did the follow-up. We closed the Smart with Smart Center. We made sure our rollovers got processed. We made sure our life insurance business got processed. We made sure our recruits were going into school. They were getting licensed. My RVP had nothing to do with my business. He just provided me an environment and an office. I was the RVP before I was an RVP. That's how we acted. We acted like we made 100 grand before we made 100 grand. Right? Every level we always acted as if before we were. That's really key. A lot of people don't do that anymore, and we're very responsible. So I fired my boss at 22. We made $15,000 that year part-time. I quit my job. We were division leader. We got regional leader by November that year, and then Alan quit his job. He was mad that I quit mine because we started making $1,000, $2,000 a month at Primerica. And then he was bringing home $3,000, $4,000. Then I'm bringing home $1,400. He's like, "What's wrong? We could pay our bills now, right? We could save some money. Why are you going to mess this up?" I said, "Because you're getting comfortable, and I did not join for part-time. Remember, I joined for what Mark and Sue had, so I knew it was time to get uncomfortable again. So I let that $1,400 guarantee go away, and I knew that we only could depend upon Primerica and whatever he brought home from his job. So he was shocked. Okay, I quit my job first. He followed suit in November. And then we went on our RVP run the following year, which was 2000. Our RVP run was November, December of 2000. We were at 42,000, rolling 12 by the end of that year. Okay, almost had our watch as regional leaders. And in 2001, we were RVP all year long. We got our watch in February, our ring in October. We ended that year at 104,000. I was 24 years old. Okay, RVP. And we were working, we were hustling, you know, we were building this business. At 25, in 2002, our rolling 12 was 172,000. We paid off all $50,000 in credit card debt in 6 months. I put together, kind of like what we do with the F&A, the debt stacking. I just did my own because the F&A wouldn't take all of our debts, okay? So I kind of had to create my own, and I just started with the smallest balance, and we started making 8, 10, 12, 15 grand a month as RVPs, and I would just pay like 5 of them off in 1 month, right? Alan bagged his lunch. We didn't eat out. You know, for 6 straight months, we were disciplined, we were uncomfortable, and we paid the debt off from April to September. I had a goal to pay it off by our next retreat, and the weekend before we left, I wrote the last check. Okay, so we've just always been very focused, very consistent, right? And we've just always set goals, and we just work our ass off to get them done. By the end of that year, we had also saved about $40,000, and we paid for our wedding cash. Okay, our parents gave us what they could, but we paid for the whole darn thing for the most part.